In today's News Daily video, I'll be speaking about the latest reports surrounding Hakim Ziyech and Jeremie Boga. I'll be speaking about Billy Gilmour and his new first team role. And of course, I'll be speaking about Loftus-Cheek and his road to recovery. Now, I want to let you guys know, I'm going to format today's video a bit differently. I'm going to focus predominantly on Jeremie Boga, and that's going to take up most of the video's time. And I'm going to get the other stories out the way first. So make sure you stay right to the end. And of course, if you like today's video, if you like what I'm saying, smash that like button, help me go over 1,500 likes, and on that point we get straight into things, starting with the first story for today, and that's in regards to the latest surrounding Loftus-Cheek and his road to recovery. Now, the great news is next Monday, Ruben is going to play against Arsenal's under-23 team. And that's great news because in that sense, that game's going to act as like a glorified preseason game for Ruben, and he's going to need a few more of these games before he's able to get any consistent minutes for the first team. So you guys can imagine that on Monday, I'm most definitely going to find a link to watch that game. I think it's going to be on the club's official Fifth Stand app, so make sure you guys pay attention for next Monday. It's mad to think that he's been out for nearly a year. And imagine if he was still fit, where would we be with his goals and his assists? Because it's a guarantee that he'd have a few of them. But anyway, things are looking good for him right now. He's back to return very soon. Let's hope, touching woods, that Ruben's game against Arsenal goes very smoothly, you guys. And on that point, we move on to the second story for today. That's in regards to Billy Gilmour. Now, it's come out today that he is officially part of the first team squad. And as Billy Gilmour himself said, "It's a dream come true for me. It's the first big step, I think. Moving into the first team dressing room at a club like Chelsea is massive for me. Knowing that the manager has such faith in you is massive. It gives you so much confidence when I step onto the field. It's really good knowing that he trusts in you and likes the way you play. I think that's the same for everyone here. Age really isn't an issue here. The gaffer has shown that if you work hard and perform well, then you will get the opportunities. Hopefully I keep pushing on and work hard every day in training, and if this isn't the perfect indictment on Frank Lampard and the positivity that he's brought to the team, the belief he's brought to the team and the players as well, then I don't know what it is, because for too long we've had too many managers here that have been too inefficient, that have ignored too many valuable resources that this club does have. Lampard's finally realised the talent and quality that this academy produces. I mean, for God's sake, last night we just thrashed Wolves 7-0. Great games from Gilmour and Andrew as well. We have the talent here, you guys. We needed a manager like Frank to start harnessing it, because once you do, once you believe in these guys, that's when the magic really starts. So from now on, I am going to move into the third story before I end things with Jeremie Boga. And that's in regards to Hakim Ziyech and news coming out from Matt Law. Now, this story has been brought to you guys by The Telegraph, by Matt Law, and they're reporting that the club will actively monitor Hakim Ziyech until the end of this season. Now, if you guys remember previous reports talking about Lampard preferring players that he knows and players that he's seen play live, well, this had really pushed further evidence towards us signing Hakim Ziyech. Now, rumours are that his valuation is 41 million, which in today's market really isn't that high for a player of Ziyech's abilities. I mean, this guy is of the De Bruyne mold in the sense that if you give him full creative freedom, he can make the spectacular happen with unbelievable long shots from distance, unbelievable passes. He is a dead ball set piece specialist and incredibly skillful with an amazing engine. So it makes a lot of sense why Lampard would be keen on a player like him. And also, I think one of the most important factors to consider is Ziyech's age, because Lampard said that if Willian does go, he needs to have some experience for the attack. I mean, imagine it. Let's say we sign Sancho, we have Pulisic, we have Hudson-Odoi. All these guys are under 22 years old. Now, of course, they have fantastic potential, but sometimes you need that bit of experience in those areas due to how difficult football can be at this level. I'll give some of my thoughts and opinions. You guys know that I've rated Hakim Ziyech for a very long time. I actually did a video when we sold Eden Hazard talking about 7 players that could really fill that mantle, and Ziyech was one of those players for reasons I spoke about earlier in today's video. Now, the question is, could we sign a Ziyech and a Jadon Sancho? Maybe not, maybe we could. Sancho's valuation is still undetermined at this point in time. Ziyech's rumored to be around 40 million. it seems like both could be signed in the market. Or maybe this news is telling us something else. Maybe Ziyech wouldn't be signed alongside Sancho, but maybe he'd be the player we'd sign if we couldn't sign Sancho in the first place. To be honest, I'd like to hope that's not the case, but there's a lot of big clubs really interested in Sancho that have the same amount of money we have, so this isn't going to be a simple case of just cleaning in and sweeping up short. And in that sense, Ziyech could be a viable alternative because he can play down the right hand side and in the middle and in midfield. We know that Lampard likes his players to have a lot of flexibility with how they play because he's a manager that likes to have options. And to be honest with you guys, I'll leave the question to you. Would you like to see Ziyech sign for us next season? Do you think he's the answer that this team is missing out on and that we need? Make sure you let me know below. And to end things with today's video, I'm going to end things with Jeremie Boga and the latest surrounding the player. We start with the news, and it's coming out from Gazzetta dello Sport that the club and Sassuolo are hoping to hold talks tomorrow in regards to the future of Jeremie Boga. Now there's a reason for this, and that's because Sassuolo wants some clarification in regards to where the club's position is surrounding the player. At this point in time, we have the option to buy set at 15 million euros, which is about 12.5 million pounds. But there is one rumour that's been floating around suggesting that we could rescind that option to buy offer and instead replace that with a sell-on clause inserted in the contract. Now this could work out in Sassuolo's favour because it's reported that Sassuolo would prefer to keep Boga for one more season. In that season they'd offer the player a new contract, but obviously to be able to give him a new contract they need assurances that they're able to keep the player again. And if you're really asking me, I'd assume that if Sassuolo could get Boga to sign a new deal, they're most likely gonna insert a buyout clause in his contract. So for a club like Sassuolo, that could really work out in their favour, because with Boga, it's very likely that he's going to cost between 30 to 40 million plus, and with lots of teams throughout Europe really monitoring the player and paying close attention towards him, Sassuolo want that confidence because interested parties aren't actually making any offers because they're getting put off due to the deal that we put in place originally when Boga signed for Sassuolo. But anyway, you guys, for the second part now that the news is out the way, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on why I feel Jeremie Boga could be the best signing we could make and my general thoughts and opinions. So anyway, we get straight into things, and I do have to say, I understand that for some people, Boga playing in Serie A, not the sexiest league right now, playing for Sassuolo, not the most sexiest team. Well, how does that really indicate to us whether he's good enough to play at this club at this level? All I can say to that is, we need to look at how some players play the game. We need to look at how some players think when they're playing the game, and we need to look at that consistent, efficient attacking output coming out from players of this dimension. And in all these categories, Jeremie Boga is absolutely exceeding them. As you guys can see on screen, look at the types of goals that Boga's scoring. Can an average player score that type of goal? Can an average player that's not that great make that type of opportunity for himself and then have the technical ability to pull that goal off? I don't think so. And when you look at most of the goals that Boga scored this season, well, if you're asking me, only the special players can score those types of goals. We're not seeing tap-ins or deflected efforts going in. We're seeing a player that's 9 times out of 10 carving these opportunities out for himself, having to create the space for himself using his world-class dribbling ability, because it is. I haven't seen too many players that good at being a man on the ball, and I feel like you can have certain world-class attributes if you're not the full world-class package just yet. And for those reasons I state, his goal against Juventus really just sums up to me what he could offer to the team and what type of player he is. Now, to create that type of goal, you need to have a few things in place. You need to have a lot of composure and an understanding of where players are on the field, because you're in an area of the pitch that is very congested and very tight. So if you're going to operate in these areas, it means that you have to think one step ahead every single time. And the way that Boga works that 1-2 to then dink the ball over Buffon right at the end, to have that composure, to make the goal even more special, to give it that X factor, that little bit of sauce on top. Ask yourselves, are your Jack Grealishes scoring that same type of goal in that same scenario? Of course not. And this is why I think the player is so important, because there's only a few players that are able to provide that consistent individual class and actually impact the team and benefit the team I mean, we used to have a player that was quite similar in Eden Hazard, and when you see Boga and Hazard side by side, well, there's quite a lot of similarities in how both players play the game. As I keep stressing, average players aren't performing pieces of football like this. It's just not happening. I feel like Boga's been faced with a lot of tests this season, most notably games against Inter Milan and Juventus, where, surprise, surprise, he scores 2 fantastic goals against both teams. And it does get me thinking sometimes. I know if you're Sarri and Conte, you definitely had a game plan for Boga, because these two are pragmatic managers that they like to stuff with the opposition to get that advantage for their team. I wonder what they think when they're making game plans to stop Boga after both managers just completely dismissed the player, didn't give him any opportunities, disgracefully in my opinion, and he ends up being the guy that comes back to haunt them by scoring goals against them, and both goals absolutely class. And it's really been the story of Boga's season. It's been absolute class with everything he's doing. I saw an impressive stat showing who the best dribblers were, and Boga is literally behind Neymar and Messi, and not by a lot, but by small margins when it comes to players dribble past. But of course, when it comes to progressions in the final third, it's not on the same level as those players. I mean, it makes sense if you watch how Sassuolo play and how Boga's isolated out wide by himself. But this is where his history with this club comes into place, because when he was playing here, he made his name as a number 10. This was the position he was playing in nearly every single time. And when you translate that to how we play under Frank Lampard now, with how Lampard has an emphasis of having at least 3 options between the lines at all times, well, it feels like this would be the best case scenario to have for Jeremie Boga. Now, I do understand that we already have options and other players we're looking at, but let's remember, it's looking very likely that both Pedro and Willian are going to leave. And that leaves us with Hudson-Odoi and Christian Pulisic. We've seen that both players have had some injuries at the time. They're still very young, and realistically by the time they reach 23 themselves, that's when we're really going to see how far their games really develops. Of course, there's still big hopes to sign Jadon Sancho, but if you're asking me, I feel like Pulisic, Hudson, Sancho and Boga could all coexist in the same environment. Let's remember that we have been looking at players that can play in multiple positions. Why do you think Werner's been a long-term target for so long? Do you think the plan was to only play him as a striker? No. And this is the same thing for Boga. He can play as a 10, as a winger, as an inside forward. He can play in multiple positions. And when you consider that we can sign him for 12.5 million, knowing that it's a very big realistic chance that Boga's value is going to be 3 to 4 times that in the not too distant future, when you realise that he has homegrown status, he'd be available for the African Nation Cups, meaning that the other attacking players would still be able to, get that consistent game time when he's not here. And when you see how the guy plays the game, because the way he plays is very unique. And the players that play the game in their own way at their own pace, but they're players that always demand my attention, because the best players tend to play with that flair and that personal expression. If you're asking me, it would be absolutely criminal to not sign Boga. I know people think that he'd be 4th choice, but I'm sorry, you're not seeing how the guy plays the game. If I'm Hudson-Odoi, if I'm Pulisic, if I'm anyone, I wouldn't feel comfortable knowing that there's this guy behind us that could easily take our places. If you want us to go to the next level, it's the type of competition that these guys will have to get used to, and just seeing how Boga plays for his price, what he brings to the team as well, and seeing how he affects the game and the goals he scores. These are things we're missing right now. It would feel really short-sighted to not sign him. It would feel really stupid not to, in my opinion. Let's not make the same mistakes we made with De Bruyne and Salah. Boga clearly has the talent. He clearly has the talent. He plays the game in a unique way. He makes brilliant things happen. He scores brilliant goals. And the exciting thing is he's only going to score more and get better. What you guys are waiting for, Chelsea? Bring back Jeremie Boga. And you guys, on that point, I'm going to aim things and wrap things up. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys in a bit.